right, Rick, brother, welcome aboard.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
yeah,
I'm happy
yeah,
to be here.
yeah, man. So I mean, the debut album coming out 2022 last year, right? Along a path, right? Talk to me about it, man.
Yep.
I
Yep.
know, I know. I
Yeah,
heard
it's sort of
I heard the first song. I heard Stone. What was the first song?
sword and stone.
Sword and Stone, and I was like, World of Warcraft, bro. Lord of the
Yeah,
Rings,
it
brother.
very much it ties a lot into, it ties it's the sort of stylistic approach that you see here with the record. It goes deep into sort of who I am as a person and everything, and that comes out in the music, of course. I've got a long history of interest in like medieval kind of stuff and things like that. I
Mhm.
spent some time, I lived in Germany for a while as a kid, so I got to see all the castles and things like that you see overseas and
Oh
stuff.
wow.
Um, I was in the military. My father was in the military, and now as an adult, I do like this medieval armed combat stuff as well. And I've always been into martial arts, and so all of that kind of comes through in the music, and in the attitude that you find and what's expressed in it.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's fantastic, man. Yeah, yeah. Because once I heard it, I was like, oh, we're ready to go, right? I'm ready to go to like, Middle Earth and stuff. I'm like, let's do this.
Right? And it's like
So,
I've even got a prop here. You can see this is like one of
holy shit.
the swords that we like freaking fight with. Like legit, I fight
Eh,
with this thing. I've been fighting
Yeah,
with it for years.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, talk to me about how where did we come with the idea with the music and tying in, your love for medieval with the love of heavy metal.
I'm kind of like you've picked up on in the music. It's a little bit throwback. It's a little bit, it's a lot retro, frankly. 70s and 80s probably kind of feel I think most people get from it,
Hmm.
which is relevant because that's some of the music and eras that really sort of influenced, me. And so that comes out in the stuff that I'm putting together. And it's about, some of the primary messaging and what you get out of it is perseverance and, being able to deal with the problems that you face in life and all that kind of stuff. And then tying some of the personal aspects of my life and so forth into that, and trying to weave that into some storytelling. I love music that tells stories, that makes you feel and it makes you think a little bit about things. So I kind of go for that.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. It's more positive, right? More than what the
Mhm.
stuff that we're kind of used to, right? A lot of demons, a lot
Sure.
of war,
You
you
know,
know. Yeah.
why can't we have hard rock music that's got a little positivity to them? Sometimes the world is, the world's crap, and you got to deal with crap, and you got to be strong to endure that crap, and that comes out kind of in the music. And you're going to deal with some stuff, and if you're not ready for it, you're going to get punched in the face, and you got to be able to handle that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, because I'm looking at the album and all the some of the song titles like Renaissance Man, Valhalla Calls, right? Very, very, old school, medieval stuff that I love. I love that stuff,
Yeah.
by the way, too. So it's like,
Thanks. Thanks.
I think it's fantastic that we incorporate that stuff into. I mean, nothing goes better than with like hard rock and metal with like,
Warriors and fighting and right.
yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
So I
like
mean,
peanut
yeah,
butter and jelly.
exactly, exactly, exactly. So I mean, but talk to me about, how did we get to this point, right? How did we were we in a band before? Were we doing anything along the lines of like, hey, I'm just gonna do a solo stuff and go from there? Talk to me about that.
I kind of came to this late. I've like I said, I've kind of was in the service myself as I expressed before, and then I kind of
Hmm.
came out and I've been working, doing the career. I've got a family. And then, sort of later on in life, I decided, I've always was a vocalist and I sang in school and stuff when I was young, and things like that, but I never really got into a band and never really learned an instrument. And I always wanted to. And so I decided, I've always been kind of a doer, and I decided that was something I wanted to do, and committed myself to it. My wife got me my first guitar actually because she knew that I was, kind of getting to that stage where I wanted to pursue music a little bit more. And so I started to do it in spurts, and then I kind of got it together a little bit more and really committed to it more. And that's kind of where I find myself now, where I really wanted to explore. I've always had music in my head, and it wasn't until more recently that I could really get it out and put it down and do something with it.
Mhm, mhm.
And so it's a tremendous outlet. It's at times you're almost just like a conduit for it in a way where you're like that, you just feel like you just have to get that creativity and that kind of stuff out of you in a way.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
it's tremendous. And so I came to it late. I don't have a lot of band experience. So this is all a lot of this is really new for me.
Mhm.
And so it's a constant learning experience and it's great. But sometimes it's like whenever you're trying something new, sometimes there's some missteps but there's always learning going along with it. And it's been great. It's been great.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean that sounds fantastic, man. Yeah, because I mean, I love how you kind of like what I'm summarizing here is like it's better late than never, right? You know what I mean? That we're
Sure.
here, we're at the party. It doesn't matter, right? We're still creating, and I love how you've combined some of your hobbies, some of your passions, and things that you're interested in, and you incorporated into the music. You know what I mean? That you've really sprinkled it on.
That's what I
Yeah.
mean. Why? I mean, it seems natural to me to do that. Why
Mm.
would that's what makes it unique. That's what makes art you. It's what brings the uniqueness to it. And it's not just some random generated crap. It's that flavor that you as an individual or you as an entity with your band, combined as that unit bring together creative wise. And that's the beauty in it in a way and everything too, because you've all got your aspects that you're going to bring to it, and if you're not bringing that to it, you're a robot, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. No, I agree with you, brother. I agree with you 110%. And I mean, I'm listening to the influences, right? I like to pick up what I'm listening to because I was listening to
sure.
the album yesterday, the day before, and I'm like, I'm getting such a really good classic vibe, brother. Like I'm getting like, the Thin Lizzy, the Death Leopard, some stuff like that. I know they're influenced on you, but tell me what was kind of going through your mind when you were writing it, where you're like, hey, this is what's coming out, my influences. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's you kind of, I wrote, the stuff all on acoustic guitar and and the lyrics and everything, and I just kind of a lot of times it comes out of it. It's a feel, the feeling that you're getting as you start to work out some chord structure or something like that. Though sometimes it's a lyric first, but usually for me it's like I've started putting something. Oh, well, what is that making me think about? What is that making me feel?
Hmm, hmm.
And it sort of develops from there and pulls out that way. And as far as the influences, sure, you're like, oh, well, this sounds like it should have something like this going on here. And
Yeah.
and I've obviously worked collaboratively with my producer, Bob Aquaviva, he's been tremendous. He's been at this a long time. He's Grammy nominated for some work he did with Boston back in the day. So he's been around the block, and I can't give enough credit to him for what he helped bring out in the music as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fantastic, man. That's fantastic. And I'm seeing on the notes too that he did other instruments on the album, right? That he
Sure.
contributed to it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He plays most of the lead for on guitar on it, for
Mhm.
example. And I play some rhythm, and we brought in another musician to play some sax on one of the records I got on one of the tracks. I Got You. It's got a nice
I heard that. I heard
sax
that.
intro, and it's got a great sax closing in, and it really just adds this totally different flavor to the song once we incorporated that, and it was great.
I gotta ask because I heard the track. I was like, "Whoa, is that a saxophone?"
Yeah.
And tell me what was the conversation like to say like, "Hey, let's put a saxophone in here." How did that
You know,
come about?
we're just sitting around listening to it as we were putting together the instrumentation for the song and everything. And I think in this case it was Bob, who's like, what do you think about, I'm hearing a sax in this, I feel like if we, throw this flavor in there, it'll bring out this extra mood to it.
Mhm, mhm.
And we decided to go for it. And we brought this great local sax player in, Daryl Slazinski, came in and played on the record, and he was fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. That was a bold move, I should say. That was very ambitious.
Maybe not every song,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I got to tell you too, what kind of brought me into it. If I don't know if how old school you go here, but if you're familiar
Oh.
with the 80s vampire movie Lost Boys,
Mhm.
there's a beach scene where there's this guy out there and he's playing the sax in this rock band, and
Yeah.
shirtless out there, and he looks like he's a freaking warrior or something. And you're like, I'm like, yeah, let's bring a sax in here. We'll have something like that come in here. It'll help it work. And the song, it's an "I Got You" song, and which is a song about, you know, F around and find out,
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
and
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
kind of the whole premise of that. And
Mhm.
so it brought something cool to it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think that's what really kind of makes the album unique, right? Kind of makes it get, with some of the songs we could throw some different flavors, right? We could put it in a
Absolutely.
different mixing pot, right? You
We
know.
got some piano in there to other spots. It kind of gives it like this little bit of a, not a bluegrass feel, but a honky tonk feel kind of a
Mhm.
way in some points where you got sort of this like almost a scat feel at some spots and stuff. So it really, experimented with it a little bit. It's my first record.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, I'm 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 hoping it will get some traction and we'll go from there. But it's been a great experience so far.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I think it will, brother. I think this really is unique. It's something that is needed, man. Some of the old school stuff needs to kind of come back, because we have a lot, and again, nothing bad against what we're saying with the new stuff now, but there's such an influx of it, right? There's just so much of this type of heavy, right? Where it's
Yeah.
okay to go back and kind of revisit some of the good stuff. Do you
Sure.
agree with that?
I do. I do.
Yeah.
Obviously, music's going to take the directions it's going to take. And, you know, you're going to have certain artists, they're going to have popularity because, their themes or their stylistic, choices that they're doing in their music are more popular, but you can't always just be swayed by what you think is popular. And I think that, it's kind of cyclical too. And I think that having some of this, this guitar and in some cases, I'd like to incorporate, more some heavy, more bass driven stuff perhaps in my next record as well.
Hmm.
Uh is that those kind of styles, they come back around into favor, sort of like, bell bottoms and tight pants or whatever else, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
just like that. And art is cyclical, I think, in some ways too. And I think people, as it drifts away too much in one direction, there starts to be, there's a pendulum, if you will. And you want to come back to more, like, you want to hear more real instruments, you want to hear guitars, you want to hear basses, you want to hear drums, you want to hear,
Mm.
you don't want to hear just electronic beats and, in one aspect, or just, whatever aspects of ways that you're generating your music. And it's not to be derogatory to music in that regard.
No, of
I'm
course not. Yeah,
not
yeah.
crushing on other people's styles, but I think there's a flow of appreciation back towards different things. And this is more my thing. And if people, and I hope that there's an appreciation still for it, because I appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. And I feel like it's okay to adapt to the new stuff, right? The digital stuff,
Sure.
Of course, there's room for it, right? There's room
Yeah.
for evolution, right? But I think I like how you said it. It's okay to visit the roots, right? If it ain't,
Absolutely.
it's what got us here. It's what brought us to the game, right?
Sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, and with this album, what was the recording process like? Kind of segueing into that. How was it recording for you? Where was it recorded, if you don't mind me even asking that?
We recorded it. It's at Wayne Manor Studios, which is really just it's this whole upper floor of, of Bob's house
Okay.
that has been turned into a recording studio, and he's been recording out of that space for a couple of decades, I think now.
Okay. Okay.
And and so in the process, I'd come in with something fleshed out, and we'd record a scratch track of it, and we'd talk about how we were gonna, flesh it out instrument wise and part wise, and we did it, by pieces. We
Mhm.
didn't record all together as a band, like a lot of albums are done these days. We recorded instrument at a time and stuff like that, and kind of put it together and overlaid the tracks and all that good stuff. Um, but I think it was a great learning experience for me, because I've never done that before, so every
Mhm.
time we're doing something in that regard, it was a whole new aspect of the creative process for me. And so it was a tremendous learning experience, and then we got it all mastered out at the end. And we did backup vocals at the end. We brought in another singer to with me to do some backup vocals,
Oh, nice. Okay.
Kelly. And you don't want to just go, with you don't want it to be too uniform, too, you got to throw some extra flavor in there and stuff
Of
too.
course. Of course. Of
Um,
course.
I don't want it to sound too much like a solo project. I want it to sound like a band, uh, and that's what we're going for, and that's where we're sort of at now. We're putting together a full band. to get out and start playing. We're in the early stages of getting everybody together and putting the music together, so that we can go out and do some shows.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ultimately, that's the goal, right? You gotta give
Right,
it. You
exactly.
gotta, yeah,
You
you gotta
know,
get in front of people.
the recording is great, but what I love to do is play music, and I love to perform music and do it in front of people, and hopefully it's well received, and I think it
Yeah,
will be well received.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think with the extra vocals, as you said, I was kind of listening to the style. I'm like, man, because I don't know if you've seen other episodes of Beyond the Heavy where I'm like, man, I wish I could sing like that. I just there's no way I can, but I have such a deep appreciation for vocalists because your instrument is your voice. You know what I mean? Like it's that's part of you. You know what I mean? And I love hearing the
Sure.
yeah, I love hearing the old school stuff with the harmonies, almost kind of like like as you said, Boston, like
Yeah,
that's the
bands like
cream.
Boston,
Yeah,
Queen, Def Leppard, they all incorporated that harmonization in the vocals and stuff, especially like
absolutely.
their choruses and stuff. And it just adds this extra fullness. And you can't be all ego, if you're gonna be like, well, it's gotta be just me. You can only hear my voice. I'm the lead singer. It's just that's me, brother. That's it, nothing
Yeah,
else. You
yeah,
can't just be like that.
yeah.
You're trying to do what's best in creating, what you're trying to go for a sound. And I think the harmonies and everything are fantastic to incorporate.
Exactly, exactly. No, and it comes out great in your music, man. It comes out great.
Thanks,
It
man.
is it gives it another layer.
Sure, exactly.
I guess layer would probably be the best, but just this sound, right? The frequency that it
Sure.
makes in with the music, it just makes it that much sweeter, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I
Exactly.
love it. Yeah, yeah. What's up, everybody? Want to jump in really quick to tell you about one of my favorite brands and my brothers over at Heavy Defender Merch. Heavy Defender merch products are a must-have for any heavy metal fan. Their banners, pins, and apparel is made from high-quality materials that feature bold, eye-catching designs that are truly to capture the essence of the metal lifestyle. The shirts are comfortable and durable as hell, man. The hoodies are perfect for when you're leaving the whiskey and it's fucking 2 o'clock in the morning, it's cold as shit. Heavy Defenders offers a great selection of products for any metalhead looking to represent their passion in freaking style. With unique designs and quality material, hey, check out HDM. But I want to, since we were talking about recording, I gotta talk about gear. What? I'm a gearhead, dude. I'm a gearhead. I love knowing what's going on with the instruments. What was used. Talk to me.
Bob,
Yeah,
gear
talk to me.
wise, Bob usually did, the producer did, like I said, I'm a novice to this. And so I won't be able to talk to you too extensively about the gear. Bob would set up
Hmm.
most of the stuff that we were doing on that day. I've got a nice little Strat here that I love to play. I've got a Gibson Les Paul tribute. That's a nice little guitar I love to play, instrument wise. But if, talking, pedals or, and all that other good stuff for amps and stuff, it's kind of above me at the moment. So I can't help you
Okay.
too much in that regard. So I'm
Yeah.
sorry if I can't
No, no, that's
hit
okay.
that
Yeah,
need too
yeah.
much for you, man.
No, no.
I
Yeah.
off my way through it, right? I don't want to pretend what I'm not.
Yeah, no, no, it's all good. It happens, man. It happens because well, with my band, I work with two guitar players, and one is super like, he's a super gearhead, right? Super just like
Yeah.
he knows every spec of like the guitar, and then my other guitar player, he's like, dude, just plug me in, dude. I don't care. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah,
And I'm sort of in, where I am is like I'm probably closer to in knowledge at this point as the second guy you described, but I'm
yeah.
interested. I'm just not there yet, and so I can't really speak the language too much yet to give it justice.
Yeah, yeah. I love the honesty, brother. I love the humbleness. You're like, hey, I don't know, but hey, I'm having fun, right? I want to learn from
Exactly.
everybody else.
I'm learning. I'm doing. I haven't said I'll be 50 here. I'm a 50-year old man doing this stuff. So to try to come out and do this, at my age, and trying to learn it all really right out from from scratch, from nothing. So it's a constant learning process to me. And when I start to know more about the gear, I'll be happy to come back and talk gear with you all day.
Hey, shit. I love it. Round two, man. Round two. We could definitely get down and we could have a gear episode.
There you go.
Yeah. So I mean, with that being said, I mean, I was reading that that your wife gave you your first guitar, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, talk to me about that. That has to be such a very specific and special moment for you, right? What was kind of going through your head with when that happened?
It was because I think she knew that I just hadn't, you know, broken that barrier of sort of having the confidence and believing that I could pursue music beyond what I tried, whatever I had done with it in the past.
Hmm.
And so some of it was, just getting past that barrier, and she recognized that. And so it was like that little extra boost that gave me the incentive to really start to pursue it in any real capacity. And what was ironic about that, though, is that I'm left-handed, which has also presented a barrier for me learning an instrument, learning to play guitar throughout my life, because my father was a bit of a guitar player himself, but he was right-handed, and so
Mm.
he never really we never tried to get past that left right-handed thing as I was a kid. And when my wife bought me this first guitar, she bought me a right-handed guitar, not
Oh,
knowing that there was a difference between having a right-handed guitar and a left-handed guitar.
oh,
And
mm.
because it was such a special thing for me that she had gotten me this guitar, I just kept it, and I learned to play right-handed. So I play right-handed even though I'm left-handed, because the guitar that my wife
Wow.
got me, my first guitar, was a right-handed guitar. So that's how I learned to play.
Dang, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. I could only imagine how difficult that would be. Because that for me, no, see, that's hard. I just even thinking about
Yeah,
having
but I
right,
didn't have
yeah,
anything to overcome from it. So
yeah.
I besides air guitar, I didn't have anything to unlearn, if you will. So
Yeah.
I think that the dexterity thing in the fingers, I think, was a barrier at first, but I'm
Mhm.
getting past it. I got past it. I'm probably never going to be the ripping lead player for any mess. I'm
Mhm.
probably going to be more the rhythm guy, but I'm okay with that. I'll let
But
somebody else have that. I'll be
we
out there
need
ripping the songs out.
there we go. And shout out to the rhythm guys, man. Because I mean, we could have all those magnificent virtuoso shredders, but
Yep,
on the back end, who's keeping the rhythm, right? Who's keeping
yep,
it in time? Who's keeping it heavy, right? You know what I
exactly.
mean?
You need
Yeah,
that.
is like how you said, peanut butter and jelly. You guys need each other. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I love it, man. I love what I'm hearing. But I had I'm just because when I was reading some of your bio and stuff, and I was like, man, that has to be such a cool moment, man. Because like my wife is very supportive as well. And I love just seeing how like families and marriages, like they support our dreams, right? They support our passion.
Sure.
They support what we do, right?
I
And
mean,
and yeah.
you couldn't do it a lot of times probably without them. I mean, if
Mhm.
if you're going it alone, but if you're trying to keep people along with you and you've got people you care about, if you're trying to pursue these things, you're not going to do it without their support.
Yeah.
And so obviously, it was a tremendous gift. It was a tremendous gesture. I still have that guitar. It was an Alvarez folk
Oh,
acoustic.
nice. Okay. Oh, cool,
uh,
cool, cool.
and so that was my first starter guitar, if you will. I've had a few since, but
Yeah.
it's still here. It still lives in the house, and it still gets touched every now and then. So it's definitely a keepsake kind of a thing to
Of
continue to
course.
have.
But in the sentimental value, of course, you know what
Sure.
I mean? Yeah,
It's worth
of
more to me
course.
than it would ever get it trying to sell it.
Exactly. Yeah. But I want to revisit, and here's the nerd in me, right? This is the geek in me that wants to come out and be like, the medieval stuff, brother. I gotta
Sure.
ask. I,
Absolutely.
I've always had like I've never gone to like a Renaissance fair or anything like that, but I've always been fascinated. Like ever since like Lord of the Rings came out 20 years ago, I was like, dude, I love all of this. Like, what is this world, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, talk to me. How did you stumble upon that? How did was it something that you've just always had, or talk to me about that?
Well, like I said, it kind of ties back to, started out when I was a kid, when I lived in Germany for a few years. And I got to see all those castles and the medieval kind of things that you see in Europe that you just don't have, stateside, or
Of course.
the,
Yeah.
the structural history just doesn't go back so far. But you can see things that are 1,000 years old or more in Europe. buildings and amphitheaters, castles, and things of that sort. And so
Mhm.
that always started like a little bit of the interest in me. And then I was a D&D kid for a while growing up playing
Ah,
Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. And then so always that medieval and sort of that sort of nerd fantasy geek, kind of aspect to me as well.
yeah.
And then as I got to be an adult, I kind of always, I combined my interest in martial arts, and I would go, like you would talked about the Renaissance fairs. I would go to these Renaissance festivals, and you see these guys up there, and they're doing the jousting and the simulated stuff. A lot of
Yeah.
times, it's like, it's predetermined often who
Uh,
these are. It's not like it's simulated combat. It's a good show,
of course, of
but
course.
and I was like, well, I want to know where I can go and do that stuff. Watching it's fine and all well and good, but where can I do it? And so surprisingly enough, there's groups of people that are out there and that they do things like this with to varying levels. And if you look hard enough, you can find them. And so I started finding people and started pursuing it. And there's whole martial communities, there's historical communities, if
Mm.
you're into that aspect of it. And I kind of groove on both sides of that. So, I could do everything from, some blacksmithing work to picking
Oh
up a
wow.
sword and getting into a fight with another guy.
Yeah.
I've got I've got armor around here. I've been fighting in martial arts and medieval style combat for 25 years, give or
Oh
take.
wow. Oh wow.
Um,
Okay.
I've had many injuries,
Yeah.
uh,
Oh,
broken
that's good.
arms, legs, ribs,
Yeah.
torn ligaments, you name it. I've busted it up.
Mhm.
But it's a passion. It's like a lot of it's an art, a martial art, the same as music. It's an art, and it requires a discipline if you're going to pursue it in any kind of uh, a way where you're trying to achieve. At least I'm also you're striving for something in life.
Yeah.
You're pursuing passions and you're striving for things, and I'm kind of about that kind of stuff. And so martial arts and medieval stuff and music, they're my passions. And so I pursue these things, and maybe it's just a little ADD in me or something like that. But I don't
Yeah.
want to watch. I want to do. Well, that's
Yeah.
great. Give me a hammer. Let me figure out how to do it. Or
Yeah.
give me a sword. Let me figure out how to do it.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, so you've made armor and you've made weapons before. Like that was like you have the ability to do so. Because when I see people like just hitting it with the hammer and just crafting stuff, I'm like, dude, that's so cool. Like,
Yeah, I've
like
made
yeah,
knives.
no.
I've never made like a sword, but I've made knives.
Oh, okay.
And I've made some of the armor. A lot of the real good armor and stuff that I have. And you want to fight in good stuff if you're doing this legit.
Hmm.
Um, you got to have some well-made stuff. And I'm not a
Yeah, yeah,
master armorer, but I know where to find some.
yeah, 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 yeah. You know where to go. You know the guys. You
Yeah,
know the
I know
guys.
a
Yeah.
guy.
You know a guy. There we go. There we go. That's so cool, man. Yeah, and then yeah, that's the thing. Is like I know I was getting really into it, and then COVID happened, and it's like, oh, here we go. It's gonna be
Yep.
difficult to find that stuff now. But I find that so fascinating because it makes it like a simpler time. You know what I mean?
Sure. If
It's
you're
more
into
wholesome.
it from like the pursuit of like medieval kind of hobbies and crafts and things like that,
Mm.
there's groups out there, like there's the Society for Creative Anachronism, SCA. It's one of the groups that are out there. If
Mhm.
you're looking more in a martial aspect, there's like these historical medieval battle groups that are out there. And
Oh wow.
International Medieval Combat Federation, and you have the American Medieval Combat Federation. They go and have tournaments overseas in Europe. So they go and fight at castles
Oh no way.
with there's a U.S. qualifying team that goes overseas and fights other national qualifying teams
Oh wow.
in these castle battles in Europe.
Yeah.
And it's awesome stuff. Uh,
That is awesome, man. Yeah, 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 yeah. So I had to geek out for a little bit with you.
no, no problem. You're talking my language.
Yeah, man, I had to geek out, but I mean, kind of going back with the music, I wanna ask, where are we looking at for the next album? What is something that we're looking at in the sense of like, are we already writing new stuff? Are we already kind of putting stuff together? Talk to me about that.
Stuff's always coming along, so you're always jotting some things down and recording some samples of something that comes to mind. If you don't, you lose things, that because that's how it comes to me a lot of times. I sometimes I sit down, I'm just going to consciously try to work on something, but a lot of times you're just going about something else, and you're like, oh yeah, I kind of let me go do that right now before I forget.
Yeah.
And so and so you've always got something, you're putting down. And so that's kind of where I'm at for new stuff right now, sound wise. I'm looking forward to putting together another album. At the moment, I'm focused on trying to continue to present this one. But sure, definitely looking forward to making some new music. I'm thinking, from a conscious effort, I might try to bring the sound forward arrow wise a little bit, from a tone quality, bring it into a more modern rock feel, perhaps, in the sense I really came at this one with both the combination of the definite medieval kind of feel and stuff that was trying to bring to it. It's like, this has got to be like a 70s or 80s sounding record, and so it's got a conscious application of that. And
well accomplished, brother. Well
and
accomplished, I
so
gotta say. Yeah.
and so I think, with the next one, not to try to keep doing the same thing over and over again. I might try to consciously bring that forward, a decade or two, and play around in that field of dreams a little bit too.
All right, and then just kind of bringing in the same group of guys. Would that be something? Or hey, I kind of want to venture around and maybe and test the waters with other people. What would be something? Oh, I don't know if that's a little premature or anything, but
No, I'd love, my goal right now is, we're putting together a band. I don't know if these guys are gonna, if everyone's gonna stick. It's kind of a early thing at this point. I'd love to get to where I've got a full band together, and if that evolves into not just being presented as me, as I'm not such an egomaniac that I'm married to just being Rick Reichert solo artist. If it turns into something else, I'm cool with that. I think there's certainly things to be gained from bringing other minds into creative minds into the process as well. And so I look forward to that, and I look forward to being able to do that with other musicians and getting that experience as well, because it's that's why you do it.
yeah,
Right?
yeah. And
Fun part.
exactly, because I think you have a really good attitude and really good mindset for, like, what, let me see what I can do with these other cats, right, and see where it grows. You know
Sure.
what I mean? And I think that's kind of hard too, because we kind of have to start with a solo area now, especially now, day and age like this. Like, it's kind of hard to find band, but then
Yeah.
once you start, like, hey, well, this could be our idea, not just my idea, right?
Sure.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, and maybe this is a good conversation, kind of like, because there's no such thing as Dios anymore, right? There's no such thing as princes anymore. It's
Yeah.
like, it's just not gonna happen anymore. What
Mhm.
are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, from a rock superstar perspective, especially, if you branch out into the pop category, sure, I think you've got individual pop artists that are still huge. Obviously, a lot of them actually dominate the charts, and
Hmm.
frankly, but I think that there's something to be gained uh, in the hard rock genre and everything, to have a band, and to have a band name, and that kind of thing. I think that there's benefit to that, and so I'm all for that. And I think,
Yeah.
especially if you can really bring people that have a true and you got to have that attitude if you're going to perform with a group of people that you want to be able to perform with and get good with and have cohesiveness with
Yeah.
for any period of time. You can't just be me, and I. It's not going to fly if you want to have any kind of success. And some of the downfall of a great many, bands and artists is, you got to keep your ego in check, so that you can, be sure to have the proper collaborative process that works for you with a group of people. And you got to find the right group of people. You can't hate the
That, yeah.
guys that you got, and you got to respect. Got to respect what each other brings to the table, and treat each other accordingly.
Yeah, we can't have a Rolling Stone situation.
Nah, right? I mean, apparently it works
Yeah.
for them, but not
Yeah.
usually.
Yeah, well, no, it's funny because I mean, money starts to mess up a band. You know what I mean? Contracts, and everything, they are necessary for certain situations and stuff. And given the situation, right? But I think you're kind of like, hey, what? I just want to play music, man. Let's just do what we got to do, right? And find that chemistry, right? Because I
Sure.
feel like with the album that you put out and working on it, you had a pretty good chemistry, right? Safe to say. right? Talk to me about that. Do you feel like it was kind of an easy process? Was it like, ah, there's times where I didn't want to do this? Talk to me.
No, I mean, from a creative process, it there was very little disagreement.
Oh,
It was very in tune as far as that goes throughout the process of making the record. There was a lot of there only, a couple of times, was there any real butting of heads and like, no, that's not gonna. I'm not for that. I'm not grooving on that. Let's not do that kind of a thing.
hmm
Um,
hmm
but overall, it was very cohesive and very uh not painful in that regard. The painful process probably in me for it was for others and me perhaps as well is because I've not done this before. And so
hmm
getting that comfort level to where I could just let the vocals go and feel good about what I was trying to do and getting and knowing when to say when and some things and like, all right, no, I don't like that, no, I didn't like that, and then
hmm
be like,
hmm
all right, that's good, go with that.
Yeah, yeah. And I gotta give you again all the credit in the world, brother, for really humbling yourself and saying like, hey, I don't know, but I want to create. I want to put it out. You know what I mean? And that's tough because especially for yeah, for doing some vocals. Yeah.
Yeah, but the vocals that was it's both the dare to take the chance kind of a thing and also terrified of failing at the same time,
Yeah.
right? Because the
Yeah.
vocals is what I really thought I brought to the table, and if I hadn't been able to pull that off, man, I would have that'd have been pretty. It's kind of been a pretty tough pill to swallow, to be
Yeah.
like, yeah, I couldn't do it, and
Yeah.
so you gotta sometimes you gotta be all in if you want to, Michael Jordan didn't become Michael Jordan because he wasn't willing to fail 1,000 times. You got to be willing to fail and
Oh
willing.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a lesson that I mean, if with some of our viewers or some of our listeners could, because most of them are musicians, let's be honest, right?
Sure, right?
But I think you said it best. It's like, do we have to fail sometimes, man? Like,
Yeah,
yeah, I know the buddies, if I have any music, and maybe you can agree with me, where I'm like, hey, I'll put something out, or I'll give them a sampler, like, hey, tell me what are your thoughts? And they're like, oh, it's good, it's good. No, no, tell me the truth.
right.
Don't bullshit me. Let me know, but I mean, is there times where like that where you're like, hey, I have something, I want somebody to give me constructive criticism, what do you have anybody that you could really look at and tell them like,
Yeah,
hey,
I
like,
think I think in some ways I have people like that, and maybe not
yeah,
everyone needs that. Yeah, I have. I think it's helpful to have. Because realistically, when you think about it, most of your friends in your circle and so forth, they're going to tell you what you want to hear.
yeah, yeah,
They're going to be like, yeah, that's great, man. Go for it. Keep doing what you're doing. Because they don't want to be the one to come and crap on your parade because they're like, man, that's some serious shit. You
yeah.
know, but, but you got to have someone that's going to tell you when you're like, you don't want to do that, man.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
people that you trust in their opinion in that regard too. I got a couple of old punk friends. They really would just call themselves old punks, and I trust their opinion sometimes on some of the stuff. They kind of hate my taste in music, but
Mhm.
but
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
trust them for being able to sound some stuff off of them. And I did that at times throughout this creative process with making this record. They got to hear some stuff before they got to hear raw stuff that nobody heard
Yeah,
at times. And I was like, what do you think of this? And they're like, yeah, go with that. And they're like, yeah. And so
yeah.
sometimes they preferred the raw stuff compared to what we worked it up to be.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That was often even some of the input. They're like, when you put it all together, they're like, man, I just like the way it was when you just were you and letting it go, man.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, and I saw that it was mastered in Japan. You got
Sure, yeah.
wow, man.
That's just a connection with the producer
Yeah,
there. He's got,
yeah.
again, he knows a guy. He got a guy that in several years back had reached out to him about doing some mastering work for him, and they kind of came to an arrangement where he tends to bring his clients for the records he's doing to this guy, and they work out a nice price for that arrangement. And so
Mm,
uh get it sent off to him. He does all the final mastering off, sends all the master tracks back for us, and got it got it taken care of.
you got to take it care of, man. Signed, sealed, and delivered. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
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 yeah. Because when I was listening, I was like, wow, man. I was like, you could hear everything clear. You know what I mean? The bass is thumping, the drums are good, vocals come out right in front, right where they need to be. I'm a sucker for production. I'm a sucker. I'm gonna be
Sure.
real with you. You know, I mean, and it's funny because like I'll listen to like old school black metal, right, or old school death metal. I'm like, come on, guys, what happened? And then and then you know what I mean? And but I mean, they're great albums and stuff. You know, this for the
Mhm.
time, but when you listen to stuff like that is better production, right? You could hear the guitars
Sure.
more clear, right? It sounds so good, right? So I got to throw a compliment your way on that one too, man.
Yeah, thank you. A lot of credit obviously to the production and mastering process, and that, everyone's, you sit there and you're listening, you're like, I really think this should come forward more in the mix, or, and everyone's obviously got their opinions on how things should sound, and where you throw in, and how much you produce or don't produce, where you're, throwing in some extra stuff and so forth to give it this extra feel and flavor. And, so you'll hear stuff that you hear and it's overproduced, and everyone's got an ear for it. If you're a musician, you got an ear for it, for what you like anyway. And it's not necessarily going to agree with everyone else, but you're like,
Exactly.
they just tried to do too much. That mix is too crowded. There's too much in there. This doesn't stand out. You can't hear the vocal, or the vocals too much, and all that. But I think we were really successful in getting a nice blend. It doesn't feel you can tell it's well produced. It doesn't feel overproduced to me. uh
Mm.
you can hear the vocal nice, you can, like you say, you can hear the instrumentation nice, and I don't think stuff is stepping on itself each other too much at
No,
times. And
yeah,
I'm proud of it. I'm
yeah,
happy with it.
yeah. No, no. I'm glad that you're proud of it, man. Because ultimately, that's the most important person that it needs to be happy with,
Sure.
right? Is you. It's got to
Yeah,
be happy.
it's
You got to like it.
I'm
Yeah.
the only one that I can control in that regard. I can't control how other people are gonna, like it or receive it. But if I can look at it and say I've put together something, with others, with help, uh, that I'm proud of, and as a musician, if you can do that, then you're doing all right.
Yeah, you're doing pretty good. Yeah, I mean, and it's funny because as a bass player myself, I release stuff and I'm like, oh, I put too much bass. You know, I'm like, ah, damn it, I did it again. Whatever.
Yeah, I get you. I hear
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Hey everybody, jumping in real quick just to let you know about today's sponsor, Metal and Iron. Are you a gym goer? Do you like listening to metal? Do you like lifting heavy? Well, Metal and Iron's got you covered with shirts and designs that are there to let people know that you're about the heavy lifestyle. None of this Gymshark shit, none of this Adidas, Nikes, nah, you're there to lift the heavy shit. So check it out. Use the code Beyond Heavy for 15% off and let them know Mayhem sent you.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, again, that's my influence though. You know what I mean? Like you could
Sure.
hear as much as people want to say is like the guitar tones and all that stuff. No, 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 no. It's like how does it mix well? That's where the influence
Mm,
really lie.
yep.
That's like it's unsaid, it's unheard, but it's there, right? Because I'm a big Sabbath. I always have to bring it every episode, but the greatest band of all time. But the bottom heavy stuff is there. Well,
Yeah.
guess what mad
Sure.
stuff is gonna be? Bottom
Mhm.
heavy, yeah.
And I want to bring, and it's great that you're kind of talking about that, because I mentioned bass earlier and stuff, and I'd like to
Mm.
bring up some, you hear like, if I don't know if you're familiar with bands like Clutch, these days
Yeah,
they've been
oh yeah.
around a while, very bass driven, the boom boom, and I'd like to do something like that. I think
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
and I think maybe with the next record and trying to bring forward the sound a little bit,
Yeah.
I definitely could see that having a greater sway in how it comes out.
Of course, no, and I think that would be a good evolution for your
Sure.
sound. You know what I mean? Absolutely. And I think that's the great part of being a musician is looking for where can I go better, right?
Hmm.
Not to disrespect the last stuff. The stuff,
Sure.
the first stuff is always going to be fantastic. It's going to be there, but that's the foundation, right?
You
Okay,
know,
how do we make it? How do we make it different?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's about evolution of what you're trying to do. You're not going to be the same place and the same spot in life and all that other good stuff
Mm,
every time you're making a new record, right? And if you're just I think that's where musicians fail themselves a lot when they're trying to just chase what a fan wants or something like that. They hit something and it's popular for a while, and so then they keep doing it, but then they don't really feel like they felt like then anymore. They're not the same person. They're not the same musician, yet they're still trying to create I don't want to say crap, but the same stuff that worked for them back when they were that individual. and if you're not, and if you change as a person, your music's going to change. Why wouldn't it? So you find yourself trying to be a slave to what you were and you're not anymore. And you just got to be prepared to let it be what it's going to be. And people will like it or not. And you'll gain fans or lose fans, and for whatever capacity that you will. But
Yeah. Oh yeah. Most definitely. Most definitely. Yeah. You have to find that place that you're at to write, man. You have to,
yeah,
yeah. Because if you, I mean, and we've seen bands, not to mention ACDC, but it's just, they're gonna put. I mean, it's a formula. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I love ACDC, by the way. It's
yeah, but they made 10 records or whatever. I think there's even a joke out there about that.
yeah.
People say, oh, we made 10 records that all sound the same. No, we made 11 records that all sound the same.
Yeah, but I mean, but that works for them, right? That works.
Sure.
They do it, but
Mhm.
all the other bands, you can't have the same stuff, right? You can't. You got to find some place. And I love how you said it, man. That there's gonna be parts in your life and wherever you are in that, and that's when the music's gonna come out, right? I love how you said that. That really
Yeah.
resonated with me because, yeah, that's how we are. We're human.
And that's really and if you look at the title of this record to bring it all, even back to this album, that's kind of what
Yeah.
this CD is, this album's about, along a path. It's about your journey. It's about, the process you're going. You're going to have things that are going to be good, and you're going to have things that are going to be bad, and you're going to change at times, and you're going to be in different phases of your life. And at all times, you're on that path to finding your way. And sometimes the road's hard, and sometimes the road's not hard, and sometimes you make the road hard by the choices you make, and sometimes those hard choices are on purpose. Like if you're choosing discipline of an art or things, and to pursue those things, that's going to be a hard choice.
Yeah.
But sometimes not choosing it is the hard choice too.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes we kind of get lost in the choice, right? We kind of
Mhm.
like, what do we do, right?
Yeah.
And that's phenomenal how you said it, brother. I love how you said it. And again, to tie it back to the record, it's kind of beautiful how you said that. And then the last song is called Valhalla Calls. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that was it's a conscious thing. The full
Yeah.
circle of it, it really does that in the record. Sword and Stone, if you listen to it, it's about, I know a place where nights still roam. You're introducing this new world, this other world, this Lord of the Rings kind of atmosphere, and knights and chivalry kind of thing, if you will. And then throughout the record, it's kind of like, it hits on points where you might be of struggles in various life, and and things of that sort. Not all necessarily cohesive in theme, but in that realm. And then, like you say, finishes out with Valhalla Calls, which is literally a song about, a warrior knowingly going to his last battle, kind of a thing. This
Yeah.
is it. I'm touching the wall. I'm looking at the sky. They're going to pay. And I'm not going to walk out of here alive, but they're going to pay.
Yeah, exactly. I love it, man. I love it. That's why when you said that, I was like, yeah, you have the last song Valhalla Calls. I'm like, oh man, there it is, dude. That's you just put the icing on the cake, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's amazing, man. So Rick, brother, I mean, got to put a pin on today, brother. I love our talk. I mean, I mean, I don't want to bore our listeners, and we're gonna talk about nothing but medieval stuff, man.
Yeah, I get you. I hear you.
They're gonna be like, "Damn, dude, Matt is such a freaking dork," Brother, where can people find you? Where can they do the stuff? Where can they contact you?
I'm
No.
in Central New York. The album's out there on all the digital streaming platforms. If you go look Rick Reichert up on, iTunes or Amazon Music or any of Spotify, you'll find it along a path. You can find the CDs for purchase. I have discs on Bandcamp, Rick Reichert Bandcamp. And go do it. Go listen.
Yeah,
to
yeah,
it.
good. We got all you need is shirts, dude. I'm a shirt geek too. So
Me
man,
too. I'm sporting one of my fun. This is my guy smashing down on stage.
oh, nice, bro.
Yeah. I need to get some merchandise. I don't have any merchandise yet, but that's next.
We on it though. We on it. We exclusive. So hey, everybody, hey, he's on it. He's working on it.
There you go.
But Rick, brother,
Merchandise coming soon.
there we go. Rick, brother, thank you so much, man.